Yes. Yes, I'm sure somebody might be your hero, and we just want to say good evening to you. And once again, we welcome you to our weekly radio program. As you are well aware, this is a program of the Domingo Public Service Union, and I'm happy that Brother Steve is back with me. It's after 2 weeks.
Yes.
All right, welcome, Brother Steve.
Thank you, Brother Lita. Good evening, everyone.
All right. Last week we had a very interesting discussion, a topic generated a lot of discussion. This week we have another one which I believe is a very interesting one also: human rights, social justice, a necessary fight for unions.
Mm-hmm.
But see, before I ask you to lead on this topic, I want us to send special greetings to all those who are celebrating whatever special occasion that it is. It could be a wedding, it could be birthday, it could be employment, whatever is significant at this point. We want to tell you that we are with you in your celebration, and our prayers are with you. And as we always do, we want to send our sympathies to those who may have lost loved ones during the past week. And while we may not know you personally, but our prayers are with you because we know what it is to be in a situation where you have lost loved ones. I'm hearing of a former public officer who may have passed. I am not too sure whether that is true, so I won't even disclose that information until I have confirmed. I remember one day, Steve, I understood that somebody died, and there was no confirmation. So I said so. And 2 days later, when I saw the person appear on PSU,
well alive.
I said, "My God, am I seeing a ghost?"
Yeah. Sometimes it's third-party information, and you have to confirm.
So I'm very careful,
Absolutely.
especially on Facebook.
Absolutely.
All right, so Brother Steve, this evening, let me just ask you to introduce the topic.
Yes.
And to open the battle.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy to be back to join you and our listeners. And yes, this evening, very important topic, very relevant. We all, as human beings, we have some rights. We have rights: the right to life, the right to certain freedoms and liberties. And I penned an article back in 2019 for our usual Caribbean Public Services Association manual that we would normally publish. And so tonight I want to use that article as the premise for our conversation, Brother Lita. And so the listeners will bear with us as I give you the first read, and then we'll extract certain aspects and just expound. So the topic: human rights, social justice, a necessary fight for unions. And it reads: the Amnesty International report of 2018, of course, that was 4 years ago, raised concerns regarding discrimination, the high levels of homicide and extrajudicial killings in some Caribbean islands. The U.S. State Department report of 2018 as well expressed concerns regarding the incidence of arrests of opposition politicians, even in my homeland, Dominica, on alleged charges of obstruction and incitement. It appears that the right to peaceful protests is under threat in some countries. These human rights issues, civil conflict, intimidation, and social trauma are clearly prevalent in some jurisdictions in the region and warrant greater attention. Political independence appears to be an achievement for some. Quite a few among us are doing well enough economically, as indeed we have advanced, but at what cost? how many are still left behind? Many people in our Caribbean society are either unable to access or are cheated of the opportunity to access and or receive what is justly due them. This is appalling, as these rights are enshrined in law and constitutions. Due to social, economic, and power barriers, many opportunities are unattainable to many. Our young people get access to higher education, but return home with degrees and must settle for menial jobs or be frustrated by long periods of unemployment and or underemployment. Precarious and contract work is like a present-day plague for our youth, a formula for what can be described as modern-day working poor. People suffer from the poverty of exclusion, powerlessness, ignorance, and insignificance, and wallow in unimaginable deprivation, apathy, and despondence. While some country poverty assessments, those done by the CDB, the CPAs, are over 10 years old, high levels of poverty persist in the region. Our efforts at growth are stagnated, and our development as small island developing states slow, challenged by international shocks, structural adjustment, disaster impacts, corruption, and lack of good governance. These shocks directly affect our people, especially the most vulnerable among us. Some have lost faith in the promise of economic growth that political independence was expected to deliver. Our own leaders have become like oppressors and colonizers we fought against many years ago. Some of our leaders have embraced a politics of tribalism, nepotism, and segregation, and have been deliberate in victimizing those whom they perceive to be adverse to their policies or actions. In the face of a world challenge with the creeping threat of white supremacy and economic terrorism, where many are treated with gross indifference and disrespect due to their sexual orientation, skin color, and religious belief. Misguided capitalistic machinations and putrid greed appear to be squeezing the middle class into submission and crushing the human dignity of the already indignant. The constitutions of our democratic Caribbean territories outline some fundamental rights and freedoms that are self-evident: the right to life, liberty, security, and protection of the law, the right to benefit equitably from the resources of the state, and the right to social justice ought to be a natural pursuit of a people who was once enslaved and are now liberated. This high ideal has become the mantra of many civic-minded champions, especially among non-government organizations and other civil society organizations. The labor movement has also embraced these issues as a central theme and has adopted social dialogue as a medium for providing a labor perspective on issues to negotiate on behalf of the members. Yet, it may be argued that social dialogue as a process falls short of a greater calling to lobby and agitate if we are to achieve a more just society for all our citizens. I lament that we as a Caribbean people seem to be forgetting that the struggle is about what the struggle is about in the first place. In my view, it is to climb the tide of human existence in the face of neoliberalism and to free ourselves from that power struggle between those who are oppressed and the oppressor. On that journey, we must ponder on the question, what Caribbean society are we creating? We must acknowledge that we all have a responsibility to play our part to shape that liberated, safe, and a more just Caribbean society. And as I end, trade unions that champion social justice are on the right path. Many more need to add their voices and actions and stand as vanguards in the struggle. Our role as collective bargaining and industrial relations will remain a core responsibility. However, we have a higher calling to our people, to our children, to chant down injustice and be that voice of reason. We can do more. We must be more proactive, and we must do more to attain the right for all to enjoy their legal, industrial, and political rights, to gain access to critical quality goods and services. In the face of our small islands being required to sign all these economic partnership agreements that usher into our shores, on our shelves, foods that are less than wholesome, our people need to be empowered to grow more of what we eat and produce goods that will compete at the international level. There must be greater participation by citizens in the decision-making process. Our leaders must be held accountable. Our people must be fully awakened and ensure that our critical democratic institutions must remain actively vigilant and relevant. Our public service needs to be a professional body, independent and capable and competent. Such institutions as the Electoral Commission must work for the state rather than for political parties. If we fail to act more assertively as a collective force, we would have failed the Caribbean project, failed ourselves and our children, failed our ancestors whose vision it was to gain for us a free, liberated, and prosperous Caribbean space to live, to work, govern, invest, and be happy, a place to call home. We must commit ourselves to success, to a better world for us and for our children, and we cannot afford to fail. So, Lieutenant, that was an article penned by myself, of course. That was it looking like a long time ago, but it was just a few years ago in 2019, touching on some very significant issues that have been emerging in our society, eroding the rights of our people, some who may not carry the same complexion or same race or same political affiliation or religious persuasion, and in some cases they are alienated, they are discriminated against, they are victimized. And I was issuing a call to all unions, civil society organizations, to ensure that they put that issue on the agenda, to call for greater justice in the society, for governments to be held more accountable, for us to try to liberate our people rather than continue to play the game of control and the power game of influencing people to be subservient, to conform rather than to liberate people and give them access to equal access to services and to work, to decent work, not just menial work and precarious work. So very important set of issues raised, and of course your reflection on some of what you heard.
Well, first of all, Brother Steve, let me say that sometimes I reflect on where we are as a region. And one of the things I hope people noted with that article was that you were looking at the regional situation.
Yes, absolutely.
You appealing to the region. Because what one gets from the article is that the problems, some of the issues that are occupying our mind, some of the problems we have to deal with are regional problems.
That's right.
What it means is they are common to different
all the small island development states. That's
definitely. Right. And therefore, when we speak at that level, we are talking to the region. And that article was prepared for the Caribbean Public Services Association, which is an umbrella organization of 18 affiliates from 15 countries.
That's right.
And this year, or last year rather, we were to celebrate our 50th anniversary as an organization, as a regional body. We because of COVID, we could not meet in Barbados. But when the article is not old, it is just about 4 years.
That's right.
But everything that is said in that article, mentioned in that article, is relevant.
Absolutely.
And I think it will become even more relevant because from where I sit, viewing things, certain things are not getting better in the region. They are just worsening.
Yeah.
Right? Worsening. It is a situation where you may have confidence, some level of confidence, in a government leader. And I'm talking regionally. Only to get up tomorrow morning and realize that that person has embarked on a path that you just cannot agree to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to mention
Any
country,
name.
any name or any country.
Yeah.
But that is something that we experience all the while. People are just getting worse day by day because to maintain power over the citizenry is one of their goals.
Yes.
And we ask ourselves, have we really, how much have we gained from being politically independent? And yesterday we had a virtual training
Yes.
for executive members and executive members and staff.
Staff of the union. That's
Right.
right.
And some other members. And I remember you saying, are we really independent?
That's right.
Are we really independent? Because one would believe with political independence, it would provide your people a chance to be heard, to be able to express themselves freely. It will afford them freedom of association and a number of other freedoms. Of course, we know that in those constitutions, it says that that freedom, those freedoms for public safety and national security
Yes.
can be taken away
Right.
for some time. So we agree with that.
That's right.
So we have no problem because
Yeah. We have a state of emergency,
yes,
we have a
exactly.
disaster, so on. Yes, absolutely.
But all subtle ways are being employed to prevent people from expressing themselves, to prevent trade unions members from protesting. And the hurtful thing about it, Brother Steve, is that our leaders just do not learn.
Yeah.
So you could speak, you could make noise from today until tomorrow. I don't know whether they not listen, or whether they listen and they do not hear, or whether they hear but they do not act. So it's one of three things. Either they do not listen, either they do not hear, or that they just do not act.
Yeah.
You understand?
And you think they know?
But of course
They should know.
But Brother Steve,
They ought to know.
I believe they ought to know.
I think so.
I believe they ought to
They
know.
ought to know.
Yes.
Yes. If you have presented yourself to serve at that level, you should understand our history. You should understand where the region needs to be at this present time and where we're going at minimum. So I agree with you that our leaders themselves, and I put it there, our own leaders have become like oppressors and the colonizers we fought against many years ago. It's as though we have replaced one system with another, but that system that we have replaced it with doesn't liberate our people.
Correct.
Yeah.
It does not liberate our people.
Yeah, that's right.
And therefore, as a matter of fact, there are certain things the colonizers did that did not do, that some of our modern leaders are doing to us. They are doing those things to us.
Yeah.
And the big question is, how do we deal with the situation?
Yes.
We cannot just sit and allow those things to continue. It is not helping us and it is not healthy. You know, I mean, the days when people were oppressed, the days when you been denied so many things. You know, I always remember this whole question about the field slaves
Right.
and the house slaves, you know, and how do you get people to to what you want them to do,
Yes.
and not what they would want to do.
And
So we have a lot. We have a long
that
way
divide
to
and rule.
divide and rule is very, very common. But Brother Steve,
Let's take our usual first caller.
Yes. Good evening and thank you for calling.
Hey, later, good night, what's up?
We are doing good, thank you.
The other brethren, what's his name again?
Brother Steve Joseph.
Steve Joseph. You raise a very significant point. I think now with the whole issue where people have to be creating more of their own employment. You know, one of the things I heard Mr. Zai Manuel and Soso was speaking about is the volume of foreign business in the capital of Roseau. Mr. Later, I'm a vendor on the street of Roseau going to 4 years now. What I noticed, even the Dominican people that own in the properties in Roseau, they will give the Chinese people the rights to sell in front of the business and not the Dominican, because there is a lady, I saw, I think she's from Pittsburgh side of the Granby, Pittsburgh. She sells just on the other side of line. She make the local candies like the peppermint and in a dark lady.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right. The owner put the lady off under the building, and the sidewalk belongs to the city council. And it's the same thing I hear Mr. Steve Joseph saying, and I think the government have to start to look into that, because there's many times they tell the young people to go and create employment, and when they create employment, I believe some years ago you had the European Union who sent down some money to train young people. I was part of it in 2001. I think Joseph Isaac, the former president, Mr. Williams, was directing that program with Dexia. I do a training there for small business. Now, when you push out the people now, you're frustrating them, and I've seen it happen many times already. Right in the city there, they're frustrating the ordinary people. Now, a lady like that, is not much people again not making those local candies, like local tablets and things. A lady like that, they're supposed to have maybe even training young people, because it's out she going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is a serious matter, because, for instance, if you look at them people that selling all the clothes in front of the barber shop, by Jolly's there. You have an old building, I think the building is for Pablo. If anybody come there to develop there now and buy that property, all these people have to move. And I believe where the government supposed to have foresight, supposed to look to either buy that property, set up a structure there for them people, because them people there long. And if them people are not there, Rosen doesn't look like it opening. Even that stuff and open and all in place. You know what I'm talking later?
Yeah, man, brother.
If them people don't open there, and for the Roseau does look dread. I don't know if you observe that. Anytime you see there, they open there, Roseau doesn't look commercial. It's there that does really make them look pretty and thing. So that is a matter, I believe. I mean, the union not representing them, but I think the union is supposed to give a voice to the people in authority about that. This is a serious thing,
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, but Brother Steve,
No, good point.
a lady is selling, and I know the person he's
speaking about, yeah.
And I know that the person sells. My question is, what problem is that person creating? You are not obstructing pedestrians.
Yeah.
Number one, you are not obstructing the flow of vehicular traffic. You have nowhere else.
Simply trying to make a living.
Simply trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And that take me to the issue I raised last week.
Yeah.
We do not have a mall. We are these people.
An incubation center to help small businesses, help young people
So
establish.
you tell her to get out of the street. Where are you sending her?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And because you see, when you do not want people to do certain things, or you don't want people to be in a certain place, you have to have somewhere where you can send them.
Especially when it has to do with livelihood.
Especially at a time like now,
especially
when employment is difficult.
Yeah.
You know, to really be employed is very difficult. To get jobs, man, it's difficult. What do? You understand with these people? It is not right. Are you sending them out on the street? I am saying that the problems that we experience as a country cannot be approached in a piecemeal situation.
Yeah.
There must be a holistic approach in addressing the problem. If I do that, what other problems am I creating? And if I do not do a certain things, what problems will I be creating?
And you're right, Brother Lita, and the agencies of the state, the city council as well, Dexia, should be in a position to facilitate these people. And you have a challenge when you have people who actually taking the initiative to create a small business or to create some kind of income for themselves. And instead of the state and other key agencies facilitating these people, you have the adverse, where they are frustrated. And then we begin to complain, oh, so many people on the side of the street, so many people not working. But when people are actually taking the initiative, I think they should be encouraged. They should be facilitated. But it goes back to your point. What is the bigger plan? What is the vision? What are the facilities we have in place? We have a small business unit. I'm not hearing much about it. What are some of the programs they have to facilitate small business, to organize space, to manage finance, to have seed capital? What are the plans and programs that are in place to facilitate these people? And this is what we're talking about. If you have the right to work under the Constitution, then you have a right to pursue that work in the public space. And if you cannot find an official space and you find somewhere, instead of you being frustrated, I think the authorities should take a different approach and try to meet these people at their level and create the opportunities for them to get out where they are and find a more suitable location to have their businesses thriving. And it's a facilitation and empowerment role that we should be playing. And this is why I raised the whole issue of the middle class, that misguided capitalistic machinations and patriot greed appear to be squeezing the middle class into submission. It's okay for certain people to have business. It's okay for certain people to get concessions. Some people who are not even Dominicans can walk into our country and get 10 years tax-free concessions to establish business. While our locals now who are struggling to actually create work for themselves, create small business, they can't, what concession? They can't even think about approaching an office to ask for concession unless they are close to the political party in power.
Yes, you are so correct. And the article says that due to social, economic, and poor barriers, many opportunities are unattainable to many.
Of course.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah.
You are just re-emphasizing that.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people, not that they don't have the ideas, they have the plans, but they just cannot.
They don't have seed capital.
They haven't got the capital.
Yeah, yes.
And,
so they have bright ideas.
So while some people can go to their PAL rep and they will get assistance, others cannot do that. But let's see, we have another caller.
Yeah.
So let me pause and take that person. Caller, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Yes, good evening, Brother Lita, and good evening, Brother Steve.
Good evening.
Good evening, my
Brother
brother.
Lita, tonight, my topic with you tonight is that I heard you speaking about certain disadvantages of government. Brother Lita, my biggest problem in Roosevelt's Carrot, listen to me, and Brother Steve quite clearly. My biggest problem in Roosevelt's Carrot and the people who support him. Here what the problem is, Brother Lita and Brother Steve. Roosevelt's Carrot lived all his life in Dominica underneath a democracy because we had a position and we had a ruling government. And when he get a chance to rule Dominicans, he tell them they are living underneath a one-party state. So the man now is an evil man. Good night and thank you, Brother Lita.
All right, let's see this caller. Caller, good evening. Thank you for calling. Overseas line.
Good evening, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Joseph.
My brother, good evening to you. How are you?
I always listen and I will contribute towards your program.
Thank you.
As you discuss the philosophical problem that Dominica experienced. I was born in the 50s. And I experienced the transformation of the rural economy in Dominica. When E.O. Libler established the agricultural depots, my father used to farm, and to dispose of his produce, it was always a problem. They had to go and try to sell in the market in Roseau, Portsmouth. Sometimes it sells, sometimes it doesn't sell. When Mr. Lebler established that depot system and he started buying produce from the farmers, that was a transformational period for Dominica.
Time,
And that started with commercial agriculture. Then he invested in modernizing the banana industry by establishing agricultural extension support and market support for the banana industry. And this is the foundation of the economy of Dominica. Today, you're losing maybe over $150 million from the export of agricultural produce. That's bananas and non-banana crops, including coconut, copra. And it's a big void. Now, unless you reinvest, I personally believe, that unless you make major investment in that sector, Dominicans will continue to be very, very disappointed in their economic system. Because the government's main role is to organize the economic system so that the people could use their skills, their talent, their energies, their investment, and make a living for themselves and their family. Thank you and good night. Thanks for discussing this.
Absolutely correct.
Very good contribution.
Yeah.
Well, the days of vanilla and lime and coming up, and he spoke about the era of bananas. Copras, my grandfather grew all these and sent, his children to school and build his house and buy truck in the 60s and the 70s. And we heard the big conversation in the 80s about diversifying. But there are other niche that we could create in agriculture, even though banana itself suffered some setbacks on the European market. What about ginger? What about citrus? We've had a citrus certification program going on for how long? What about passion fruits? There are turmeric. There are so many other areas that we can invest in to expand agriculture. I see we have another caller.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Good evening, Brother Steve. Good evening, Brother Lecter.
Good evening.
Hi,
good
nice
evening.
hearing you.
I'm just calling to say good night
Of course.
because I know you have company tonight.
All right. Thank you.
You're not alone.
Thank you for the concern. God bless you, my dear.
And I'm listening.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, Brother Steve, I said so on a program a few weeks ago. We had Hurricane Maria 4 years ago. And prior to that, we had Erica.
2015.
And 2015. And Brother Steve, I can say it boldly. I have not seen a plan to rehabilitate our farms.
Yeah.
I have not heard of any program where you say, okay, in the next 5 years, we want to have so many thousand of citrus plants bearing.
Because that's the output you want
Exactly.
in the next 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And in the next 5 years, we are going to do some serious agro-processing.
Oh, yes, exactly.
What are you saying for coconut?
Yes.
And
Coconut oil
passion-
is a big
Exactly.
thing. Coconut milk is a big
But let's see,
thing. Coconut powder.
it is hurtful.
Oh my goodness.
It is painful where we are. We are operating as if we have no vision.
Yeah.
And we have to say it how it is.
That's right.
We have to say it how it is. This idea of people are afraid to talk and people do not want to say how they see it. You may not be right, but you have to say.
At least you have a perspective, you have an opinion.
And let somebody tell you that you are wrong.
Yes, right. Or provide their own perspective.
Later, you are wrong because that is what we have. That is what we
Yes.
have put in place. But where are we heading? God forbid that we are struck by another serious hurricane.
Boy, I know.
What will happen to us? You understand?
Yeah.
The sales of passport, will that be sustainable?
Cannot be sustainable.
How long are we going to continue with that?
Yes.
And not only that, but are we investing properly from the revenue?
And we welcome the revenue, but you have to reinvest it in
Exactly.
productive sectors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think that will bring long-term benefits to the country.
That's right.
And I believe that is lacking.
Yeah.
I thought we had
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you for calling. Caller, good evening to you.
We have a feedback.
Caller, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Yes,
evening.
we are hearing you.
Yeah, you may have cut my whooper, as they say, but this coconut rehabilitation thing, it apparently never happened. Austria said, oh, they brought a batch and it had disease, and that was the last we heard about coconut rehabilitation since Maria.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have had coconuts bearing almost ready to bear. or
Exactly.
bearing
Maria was in 2017.
So this is really a lapse on the part of agriculture, and you just cannot lapse in that department. Dominica is an agricultural base.
Correct.
How can we have such a lapse?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I remember after Hurricane David in 1979, we had, I think it was the Canadians, I forget the how it was called, but it was some Canadian organization that was assisting us with the rehabilitation of the coconut industry.
Yeah, that's right.
And then a number of other things will introduce redundancy, you know, and all these things have gone. Another caller. Good evening, caller. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good evening. What's up, gentlemen? What's up?
We're doing good, thank you.
Good.
Well, Mr. Later, you know this thing already. The whole philosophy out of it, Mr. Later, is to chat. We really chatting, but we're not moving. We always hearing what's going on, certain things planning, but we're not really seeing it with our eyes. Because it's early stages. We used to see tons of banana shipping, grapefruit, orange, passion fruit, tangerine, everything. And today, in modern time, where you can grab those things and we have the land and water, you're not seeing those fruits in the market. Mr. Later, in the next year coming, if we continue dividing ourselves, and that is how it starts, you know, before I jump into it. It starts from the family. And if the family take a stand and bring back the agriculture back on their step door, that will be all right, because it was a bag of food to share for you and your neighbor. Now it's a bag of poison because they don't want your children to do what? One graduate in a house, but how we graduate buying the food and eating the food? Tell me, when you cannot get a passion fruit, a banana, this like before. So, Mr. Later, with all the tourism thing we're talking about there, we have to invest a couple $1 million in the agriculture. But Mr. Later, is not going to happen, you know, because hurricane after hurricane, you see what the people lining up for. Are you understanding what is happening? After COVID, you see what is happening. How many dashing, yam, tanya, everything was shipping as soon as it slowed down a little. So that means we have the culture for agriculture. But they want us to continue with it again. And if you have no agriculture in a country like Great Dominica, where the water is heading to the sea, and the sea water is driving in the titili into the land for us to eat, where are we heading? Dominicans, mothers, fathers, come back home. Wake up. Let the children smell the great coffee tree, not the coffee in the bottle that they used to have before. Mommy, give your child a slice of banana. If she don't want it, make a cake, she will eat it.
Thank you, caller. Bye. Another caller. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My brother.
Mr. Lita, it's very good to hear your voice. Sean Douglas, it's very good.
Steve.
I needed it. My name is Boots on the Ground.
Boots on the ground, okay.
Yes. Mr. Lita, my question is, can anyone sell government property without public notification? I would like to understand that, because in the history that I know, whenever there is government property for sale, there's either auction or public notification that this property is going to be sold or for sale or whatever. So I would like you to give a little enlightenment on that.
The question is, can it? I believe it can, because we see it is happening. I would turn the question around and see, should.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And I believe
it ought not to.
It ought not to. Because
It's happening.
if you have government property, let me not
State property.
Let me not say government. It's state property.
State property.
Which means it belongs to the people.
That's right. That's right.
And the people have a right to know what is happening to state property. It is their right.
Yes, yes.
It is our right to know
Correct.
what is happening to state property, who it is being sold to, for what purpose, and nothing wrong to even tell us for how much.
Correct.
Because that is state property.
And you have to be accountable.
You have to be
transparent.
Exactly.
The procurement process has to be followed.
I personally condemn the action of the sale of public works property
Yes.
without information to the public.
Right.
But let's see.
Who was it sold to, Brother Later?
I have no idea.
I see it being cleared.
It's being cleared. It's being cleared. And nobody knows. And I don't want no monkey to tell me, give me any reason
Yeah.
why they believe government has no obligation to tell us.
Yeah.
It is government's responsibility
Absolutely.
and duty when you dispose of state property
to inform the nation.
to inform the nation. It cannot be something that is sold because somebody is your friend or whatever, and we have
Not
no
your private
idea.
property.
It's not your private property. We have a right to know, and it is time the administration stop that nonsense and believe they can do everything, anything without informing the country, without informing the citizenry. I have nothing against government. I am not a party person. And I am saying that from the bottom of my heart. God knows that I'm not a party person. But when something is wrong, it is wrong.
That's right.
You cannot just, if nobody asks a question, you could say, okay, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But when people begin, and I don't care who are the people asking the question, when people are asking the question, you have to provide them with question. That is good property. You could think of so many things you could do with that piece of land. Invest.
Oh.
You understand? I'm hearing it for a hotel. I'm hearing it for this. I'm hearing it for that. Up to now, nobody knows. Well, I shouldn't say nobody.
Well,
most of us do not know.
The population.
The population doesn't know who it is for.
Yeah.
Government has a responsibility. That is why we elect government to do things on our behalf.
Correct.
And if you're doing things
to report to us.
Yes, if you're doing things on my behalf, then you should let me know. I should be aware of what you are doing. When it comes to things like national security, and you may not want to disclose certain information because it might hamper national security. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But something like that, by now, Dominicans should know. My God, this is an insult to us,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
All
take
right,
a few calls.
Good evening, thanks for calling.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
We are doing well, thank you.
Good.
After Hurricane Maria, the man that is sitting inside there as the president, as they calling him the Speaker of the House, said they were going to plant 1 million trees in Dominica because at that time he was minister for the. Are they calling that name?
Agriculture?
No, not agriculture.
Resilience.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Minister of Resilience. 1 million trees. Because I can remember going to the botanical gardens to get compost. And the guy told me they're not selling compost right about now because the Minister of Resilience said he wants the compost to do tree planting. I would like to ask the Minister of Resilience, Joseph Isaac, how many trees have he planted since then? I would really like to ask him that question and answer the people. Mr. Letter, you can't take state property and just sell it to who you want.
That's right.
State property belongs to the state. And we don't know who buys it, what they go. Number one, it should be gazetted, right?
Yes.
That should be gazetted. The land sold to X, Y, and Z, and how much it is sold for, and what before ever the person do anything there. Even if the person asks to buy it, you're supposed to tell that to the public. Nothing. Like state property belongs to Skerrit and his government. Well, I hear they call her name there. I don't know who they call him, and a person they call him Slick Rick. I hear Slick Rick that buy that property. He and the donut. So we go see what's going on. But that shouldn't happen there. Dominicans supposed to put their foot down and determined. Nothing going inside there. No.
Thank you.
We cannot let Mr. Douglas do right roughshod on us in Dominica. No, botanical gardens. Botanical gardens used to be, Mr. Letter, maybe don't you feel the botanical gardens in the early 70s, late 60s, 70s. Botanical gardens were agricultural station, Mr. Letter, with every fruit you could think of: mango, tangerine, sweet lime.
Yeah, man, everything.
All kind of fruits at the back of that botanical garden. A fruit that's called shaddock, a big kind of grape fruit that's called shaddock.
I know shaddock.
You're
right.
The fresher the shaddock to make some kind of delicacy to sell.
I know
Mr. Letter, all that was in that botanical gardens, Mr. Letter. Now I hear they want to make a road past some botanical gardens to Santa Roma. Have a blessed night. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's another thing, Brother Steve. I mean, I have traveled quite a lot.
Yes.
But Steve, I have never come across a botanic garden where big vehicles, dumpers.
Yes.
I have not seen caterpillars.
Yeah.
But dumpers, tractors drive through the botanic gardens. I have never seen that in any country.
Yes.
Right? You.
It should be a sacred space.
Exactly.
There should
you have
be
all
rules.
kind of vehicles driving through your botanic garden.
You understand?
And at the
People
same
should be
time,
walking, enjoying the birds, enjoying the scenery.
we are saying it's a tourist site. So while the tourists are in the gardens viewing,
Yes.
you have a big dumper with tarish
and thing.
Oh my God! God help Dominica. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling.
That wasn't how the botanical garden was in the 70s and in the 60s, Mr. Letter.
Okay.
If you see you come from the river in Buffett Stadium, Mr. Letter, you could pass in the botanical garden for best knuckles on your head, you know.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was a secret space.
Yes.
Secret
space.
You couldn't do
Well
that,
respected.
Mr. Letter.
Well respected.
All right, thank you.
Respected, not cars couldn't run up and down in the gardens like what you see in there now. No, that
All
wouldn't
right.
happen at all. No,
Yeah.
the botanical gardens were dumper truck, let's call it caterpillar, anything that's parked in the
Anything.
botanical garden.
I have not seen donkeys. One of those days I suspect I'll see donkeys. Yes.
Another
Caller,
call.
good evening. Thank you for calling.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good
sir.
evening.
You know, you might find me ridiculous to say what I'm saying, but I agree with the government in doing what they're doing.
I know somebody would
Because
say that.
if I come in to cut your neck with a cutlass and you don't put up a defense, wouldn't I cut your neck? I'll cut your neck.
Yeah.
And if I call you and tell you that I'm coming with a cutlass to cut your neck, and you don't run to the police to report it to them and say, look, this guy say he come to cut my neck, what would happen? I will cut your neck. So this is exactly what is happening. You cannot tell me that a prime piece of property as public works, state-owned, it belongs to the government and people of Dominica. And with all the organizations, everybody depending, we are the opposition. Here's the opposition. The opposition alone is not Dominican. And the opposition has spoken about it. But how many organizations, or even some organizations, calling the opposition and say, look, let us put up our resistance. Let us do it.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, and you know, forgive me for saying that the unions today are not militant as it used to be. And that is a fact, you know, because we talk a lot, but that doesn't do anything. Scarif might all know so. He might be laughing at you on the program. Because nothing is happening. The private sector is the action before to prevent certain things from happening. And if PSU call a strike tomorrow and say let's shut down the country, the private sector will not close. It happened before. So Scarif must do what he's doing. He must do what he's doing. Because we're not serious in what we are saying, and we're not serious in taking the necessary action to tell Scarif that he does not have the key to Dominica. It's the people. He is part of the people.
And you are part of the people too.
Yes.
That is right.
We
All
are.
part of the people.
Exactly.
But he must tell us beforehand, in advance, what he is doing. Up to now, nobody knows who by public works, Papa Modu.
You see, caller. You see, caller. I mean, you are saying something, and then you are part
Of it.
of it.
Yeah.
Because see how vocal you are.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you,
What percentage?
what have you done? What are you doing to ensure, apart from calling programs
Yeah.
and expressing yourself, have you on your own decide to come in, talk to some people, and let's start something?
Mobilize.
Mobilize.
Yeah.
You see, because that is the problem with Dominica.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Everybody is saying what somebody else is not doing.
That's right.
The question is, what are we all? What are you doing? The union can do a lot.
That's right.
The union can do a lot. I agree with you.
Correct.
I agree that the unions are not as militant as they were before.
That's right.
But you have been listening to us.
Of course.
And a lot depends on the members.
And
Right?
the people.
And the people.
The public can join in
The
that
public
process.
can join.
Absolutely.
And I believe that is where the problem is. I mean, a lot of things start when you look at a lot of leaders. I remember the days of Ruzi, Ruzi alone, going all over the place.
Of course.
And we see a lot of protests started in certain countries. And sometimes it took one individual to
start a movement. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I believe it is. I would prefer to hear Dominicans say, I am prepared to do A, B, C, and D.
Passionate about something,
Yes.
and let's do something about it.
I am prepared to do A, B, C, and D about certain things. You must get at least some people who will see. But everybody, Brother Steve, is saying about Dominicans are not doing this.
Yes.
Dominicans are not. But you are
But it's
Dominican
not going,
too.
Brother Lita, the reality is it's not going to happen automatically.
Exactly.
There must be some leadership. There must be some organizing. There must be coordination.
Boldness.
There must be a passion about certain issues. We have to say, let's stand up and do something about it, and that's how we're going to do it.
Brother Steve, I think we have an overseas caller for
Let's
a good while.
take that. Yeah.
Caller, sorry for having you waiting so long. It's a topic.
Hello, good evening, Dominica. Good evening, Mr. Lita.
Good evening.
Mr. Lita, one of the things that has shocked me, I cannot believe after 22 years, Dominica doesn't have a factory to bottle water. Mr. Lita, that's our strong point. Mr. Lita, that's a natural resource that even though it's hurricane, whatever, that water flow, nothing trouble with that water. After a couple of days, it's back to normal. Mr. Lita, we should try to embrace. There are certain places in Dominica the factory can build and you don't even have to even use gravity flow alone can run the factory.
Correct.
Mr. Lita, another thing I observe again, that corona not going down, Skerrit using it as his strong point. He said, don't panic. The opposition cannot do nothing. They cannot have activities. They can have nothing, but he can have all the activity. Going forward, the opposition has to come up with a plan. How can they have activity during that corona? Because Skerrit is benefiting from it. God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Well, caller, just now we won't even have rivers. We won't even have rivers. And that is another area, Brother Steve, I'm very, very disappointed.
Oh.
Because the elephant grass, you know what we call elephant grass?
Yeah.
The elephant grass is taking over all over our rivers. For the coffee, I do not know what is your thoughts on this, but it's the rivers are really going.
Yes.
And if something is not done about it, we will not be able to say. As a matter of fact, I don't think we have 365 rivers. We do not have 365 rivers.
A lot of them are drying up.
A lot of them are drying up.
They become a trickle or stream.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's
another caller. Thank you for calling. Caller, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
We're loud and
clear.
Okay, Brother Lita, and you and Brother Steve, good evening. I have a question for you, Brother Lita. During when Public Works was in service, do you used to represent Public Works workers? You know, was they in the union?
We still do.
And I would like to ask you a question. Another question. Where is the new location for the Public Works Department on the ground?
Okay, caller, we thank you for the question. We are still representing public works people, and we have given them some good representation. A few months ago, we were able to, we concluded negotiations, we were able to get 4 bubbles for them, FOUR, 4 bubbles for them.
A month's salary.
Which a bubble is equivalent to a month's salary. And we have not gotten a salary increase for a long time, because you may recall the difficulties that we were experiencing in public works. At one point, the Prime Minister said that it was better to throw, how he said it, giving public works money was like
throwing down
money in a ravine.
Yeah.
So it was not easy for us. It was a big struggle. But at the same time, I think we have a board that understood our situation, and they were very understanding of what we were requesting.
Yeah.
Your second, so we continue to represent them. Your second question, the administrative office is situated in the industrial area at Kingsfield. That is the 8 Bank industrial area. And the garage for public works, they were doing some work there to put it, it will be situated, or is being situated at Donkey Beach in Kingsfield. I hope I have answered your question. Well, see how lines are busy.
Lines are blazing, yeah.
Blazing. It's hot potato. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Mr.
Good evening.
Mr. Later, can you hear me, Bob?
Very well.
Yes. So you and Steve, man.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
I'm hearing you pretty low. Mr. Later, I'm listening to your conversation, and the gentleman who called you and telling you what the people need to do was a good question that you asked, because myself, is not there, and I complain about the issue. But I think those of us who cannot be there to help fight the fight must finance the fight.
Correct.
But when you ask him what is he doing, I was called by someone else and I did not hear the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
But me, living in America, I have a stake in the island. So if I'm not there to raise a banner, if I'm not there to stand up in a protest or whatever capacity that is necessary, I am willing to finance the fight, because, like I've always said on the same radio station, soldiers need to eat, soldiers need water, soldiers need a reinforcement that supply them, nourish them, so they be able to stand on the front line while people, reciprocate. Those who supply in the back got to step to the front. Those who are on the front got to take the back to replenish. There is a book I've always mentioned, and my boy Blessing has mentioned it, and I know he knows what I'm talking about. You up against the Chinese people who are very passive, aggressive attitude. And if most people listening to me don't know what a passive, aggressive attitude is, you study them, because they study you. They have studied African people, and they know, because you don't see them going everywhere just running roughshod over every other ethnic group, right? It's mainly Africans and in Latin America. Yes, they go to some countries in Europe and they do their dirty work, but not as much as they do with us. So this is where I stand on the struggle. I think this is time that the people stand up, and when they need assistance, they get on the bullhorn and they put the word out that people in the diaspora come, do whatever they can, finance it or come to stand up on the front line, because this country needs everybody, every hand on deck.
That's right.
Now I want to go back to your agriculture. There's a thing they call fair trade. Mr. Lisa, I don't know if you heard of it or Steve heard of it.
Yes, that's fair
trade. Fair trade is an organization that helps small farmers. So if the government is not doing what they want to do, and someone has contact with these people, or somebody could find out, because you have to be able to facilitate the farmer with the company, and they put all kind of products. So Steve made a very good point.
turmeric, ginger, and all these things. All these things are selling for big money in America. And we have the capacity to do it. And you could supply one chain, a chain store. Because these things are very, very popular now. Not just in the pandemic, but it's a movement of people trying to go back to eating natural and healthy foods, the organic movement. And it's not just for the pandemic. It's been going on before, and it's growing. And there are big chain stores, grocery stores, that brings in organic, produce from Latin America, from the Caribbean and parts of Caribbean, like Grenada. Grenada is doing very progressive things. They starting to plant soursop on a very, very large scale. Like last year, they bring in almost $3 million into the island selling soursop. And these things are happening, and they're happening right around us, and we're missing the boat. They're doing agricultural tourism. You know, they're not just talking the talk and this thing, so they're doing the work. But I'm listening, my brothers, always interested in listening to you.
Thanks for that contribution.
Thank you. Very good contribution. And when I see some of those things 3 years for
they start bearing.
They start bearing. That is what we want for Dominica.
Absolutely.
And we have to stand up and say that when it comes to agriculture, for example, we are not satisfied with the pace of development in agriculture. It is a fact.
That's right.
Right? It is a fact. Amerijet stopped coming here.
Yeah.
After it was after Maria. What is happening? But I mean, people are producing a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, Dominicans, they have to turn their." Dominicans are producing,
but
they just do not have the markets. And what is happening?
Yeah.
We heard about 2 boats that would have been purchased.
Years ago,
and we have not seen anything about those things.
Up to now.
And we are just silent. We have to talk.
Yeah.
Whether people hate us, whether people don't like us, it doesn't matter. This is our country, and we have to be able to talk about the things that affect us.
Absolutely.
When it comes to taking steps, doing something practical, I mean, people have to stop talking and blaming other people and do what they're supposed to do. All right?
Join the fight.
Yeah,
join the struggle.
We have to join the fight. We have to join the struggle. So we can just continue talking. We have to do what it takes to really do the things. We have another caller. Caller, good evening. Thank you for calling.
That the last time I called you, something I saw last night that really had me almost thrown out my rockers. A cocoa broom. And the man talk about the soursop coming from Grenada. A cocoa broom at Amazon selling for $22 US.
Wow. Cocoa broom.
Wow.
Yes.
When I see that, I say, wow.
Yes.
So next time a person pass by, you in for a cocoa broom? Because that was a lot of work in it.
I pay $10.
and they pay $10 by it.
Yeah,
$22 US for cocoa broom on Amazon. So it's going to be coming from either Trinidad, Guyana, or Nigeria, because Nigerians are known for having their cocoa broom to sweep their house. And doesn't use broom like us, cocoa broom.
Thank you.
So that must be coming from there. Bye.
All right, we haven't got much time left, just half an hour, Brother Steve, and we're getting a lot of calls, so let's be a little brief. Good evening, caller, thanks for calling.
Good evening, my brother.
Good evening.
Anytime you talk about public works, you know I am very passionate about public works.
I know.
And you would have expected me to call.
Yes.
I worked public works 19 and a half years. And let me just say to you all, let me just quote a song, a great song written by Pat Aaron. A great song written by Pat Aaron, and it's sung by King Dice, the legend King Dice. There, Dominica, my true confession is what I did not do. I watched you suffer, for my allegiance was to someone else, not you. All your exploiters, many in numbers. The patriots are few. And it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Now we live in hostilities. Fruits, we are reaping fruits of our misplaced loyalty. Let me say to all of us, you ask what can we do and what can I do? Let us all of us go back, return to country. And that should begin with me. Let us start to think of country. Think of Dominica, not what we get in, not what is given to us, not what is stolen and given to us, not the crumbs that is falling from the Prime Minister's table and from Minister's table, and we are just sucking it. Let us all stop our dirty, greedy, selfish ways and think of country. This is the only way. And I'm going to repeat, this is the only way Dominica will go somewhere.
To be liberated.
Good night, and I'm listening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
very much, caller. Thank you. Good contribution. Yeah, but let's see, that is what we have.
Yes.
All right, let's take another
call.
Yeah, caller, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me clearly?
Very, very well.
Hello?
Asking for the priest coffee, Father Coffee. But all of those men that call themselves the man of the cloth, they are afraid of the devil. Men of God not supposed to be afraid of the devil. They're supposed to rebuke the devil. They call themselves man of cloth and they're afraid the devil that is there buying them with big money. I don't call them man of cloth, you know. I call them men of rotten cloth because they are being bought for money and they cannot face the devil with God's prayer. They are rotten cloth, not men of cloth.
All right, caller. Another caller, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well,
go
very
ahead.
well.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just want to contribute towards the coconut planting drive. My view on that is I don't think the government is doing anything. And I am very happy there's a little group called MJAM. I'm hoping that somewhere along the line that MJAM will come up with an idea like that. Maybe we can find a non-government organization that's probably willing to fund a coconut rehabilitation program in the country or something. But persons like me who have started to plant already, maybe some of the farmers should go ahead and plant their own thing and forget about those people because they're not going to do anything. They're not going to help. So we need to get our act together as people and start doing maybe do our own thing or form a committee or something.
A farmers group, for example.
Yes, I'm saying that we should probably form, there should be maybe some group that wants to get involved, a small agricultural group that wants to take up those issues and you know, run with it, because I don't see anything happening. The hurricane has passed and there is nothing being done to re-establish the coconut industry, nothing at all.
All right, caller, thank you so much. Let's take another caller. Caller, good evening, thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hello, caller.
Hello, good night.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, good night, Mr. Later.
Yes, good evening.
Good night, Mr. Farrell.
No, Mr. Joseph.
No, it's Joseph, Steve Joseph.
Mr. Joseph, sorry. I usually listen to your program every Wednesday night.
Thank you.
But I don't usually call the program. And I called tonight because there's something that concerns me.
Yes.
Isn't this program a public officers program?
Yeah.
It is the DPSU program.
But I have been listening for the entire night, and I realize that we have diverted into some political program.
Why you say that?
I am a public officer also, and I need to know.
You listened to the article that was read at the beginning of the program?
What will help me to move on as a public officer and progress, and government will help me progress. I don't want to be listening to a program and it just become political. We have diverted from the program, Mr. Litter and Mr. Joseph.
You're hearing us?
Most of the comments from persons calling the program, and most of the people that call in there are the same persons who call in the hot seat, and they are not public officers. I know that for a fact. Most of the people are the people who call, and I realize that they have diverted the program, and they have caused you, as the persons in the program, doing the program, to divert. We need to stop that. It's not a political program. It's a public officers program. I want to know what the PSU, the Public Service Union, can do, and they're using the medium of 295 to divulge that information to us, so that we can know how we can move up as public officers. I don't want to be here in... since the program started, it's political. That is not good for the program.
We'll give him another minute.
A public officers program. And I want to hear more public officers call in and giving their contribution.
Thank you.
And you should see that.
Thank you, caller.
You have already seen that.
Thank you, caller.
We have diverted.
Caller, thank you very much.
I think we should do better than...
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy that at least you have confessed or you have admitted that you have been listening to that program for a long time. But this is the first time that you are calling. And you are only calling because you believe it is becoming political. The topic this evening, caller, is human rights. Human rights.
And social justice.
Social justice.
One of the quotes we have is, in the face of our small islands being required to sign all sorts of economic partnership agreement that usher into our shores and our shelves foods that are less wholesome, our people need to be empowered to grow more of what we eat and produce goods that will compete at an international level. And we went deep in talking about the importance of agriculture. And we were talking about bananas, and we talk about coconuts, and we talk about all the other industries and agro-processing. How to empower people, to liberate them, to make sure they have income that they can sustain their lives. So we can change the trajectory of the country, make it less dependent and more independent. So I don't understand why the caller is only here in politics. Because we are touching on some very important issues for the advancement of Dominica, and the public sector is part of that process.
But Steve, it's not only that. We are talking about the economy.
That's right.
We are talking about investment in agriculture.
That's right.
We have absolutely no control who calls and who doesn't call, and who do not call.
Absolutely.
Now, if we are talking about the economy, and the economy is doing well, you say that you're a public officer. It means that at the end of the day, caller, you will benefit. Because when we go to the negotiations, you know what we are told? Because
the economy
of the state of the economy,
you can't get a salary increase.
You cannot get a salary increase. So you have
it's all linked.
It's all linked. And caller, in the past, you know that unions were involved in a lot of things which were not of an industrial relations nature alone.
Yeah.
But every decision that is taken or that is not taken, every program, every activity of the government somehow impact public officers.
Absolutely.
So you have to understand that. All right? And we make absolutely no apology for the topics that we are talking about.
If he was listening, Brother Lita, one of the things I read as well, our role at collective bargaining and industrial relations will remain a core responsibility. But I said, however, we have a higher calling to our people, to our children, to chant down injustice. And we were talking about what is happening in Dominica, and to be a voice of reason. And we have to do more.
But all over the world,
we have to be the
unions are involved in calling for political independence. Unions are involved for calling for economical improvement.
Absolutely.
And the list goes on.
Climate change.
On.
The topics are not exhaustive.
Exactly.
Unions have to be involved in the social life of the country because it affects your people. And ultimately, it affects those members whom you represent.
We are affiliated to a number of very good, well-known organizations, Public Service International. You wouldn't know the kind of programs, the kind of things that PSI are advocating and pushing for. Because they recognize that all those decisions impact on the public service.
Absolutely.
And who funds the public service? Who makes up the public service? who deliver the services?
That's right.
When people have got basic equipment to perform their duties, and they are told that it cannot be, there is no money to purchase, should we just remain silent? My friend, if we have improvement in agriculture, if we have improvement in agro-processing and a number of other things, I am saying that public officers will be better off.
Absolutely.
They will be better off.
Let's take a few more before.
Let's take a few more calls. Good evening, thank you for calling.
Good evening, Mr. Later.
Good evening, my dear, how are you?
Okay. You have a robot controlling who want to call, man. It seems you have a robot controlling who want to call.
I wish I had that technology available
but
to me.
you and Mr. Joseph, all you're not seeing, the civil servant is very partisan political.
Yes.
Political. That is why he has a problem with what all you're saying. There's nothing wrong in being political.
That's right.
There's a difference between being political and being partisan and political. And he's so, seeing things through a red keyhole that he has difficulty in the sensible things that you all are saying. Have a good evening.
Thank you, caller. Bye. Caller, thank you for calling. Good evening to you.
Yes, somebody want to run your program for you. I can understand why was he not calling all the time, and tonight he was fine, he want to call.
I see.
All right. Thanks.
Well, we eat politics, we sleep politics, we walk politics, we do everything in politics in Dominica.
That's right.
And I don't think he's a public servant at all, or red according to my king. Thank you.
Overseas line, good evening, caller. Thanks for calling. I know you have been waiting.
Yes. Good evening. How are you doing?
We're doing good.
This caller that called, they're talking about civil servants not calling. The civil servants not calling because they choose not to call.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And you can clearly see that person that calling there is more political than anything.
Oh, I see.
If he's not satisfied with what is taking place on Q95, tell him to go and call Kyrie FM. What is wrong with it?
All right, caller.
Nonsense.
Okay.
We don't want to make him.
All right. It's a democratic country.
We don't want to make him the topic, though.
Democratic in every right. You understand? So you cannot call and talk that nonsense.
Sometimes we have to treat those comments as a distraction too, eh?
Yes.
We don't want it to become the central issue of conversation.
We have about 13 more minutes. Yeah. Let us advise the callers let's stick to the topic, stick to the discussion, and let's just forget about the caller.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Lita. How are you?
We're doing good, thank you.
Okay, I don't think this caller was being fair at all to the program.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he is a public servant and he has been listening to the program all the time, but it's the first time that he's calling. I think he's not being fair at all. Because the reason why I say so, Mr. Lita, the union has had many programs.
Many topics. Years now, how many years now we have been doing?
Oh, years.
Maybe about 15?
No, Mr. Lita. This caller, I guarantee you, when you all have called protest action, he has never turned out.
Okay.
All right. I think the caller expressed himself. We have responded. Let's move beyond that. Let us
right.
contribute to the topic.
That's right.
What is the discussion?
Yep.
As Brother Steve say, you'll always have those distractions.
Yes, of course.
I'm not going to allow the few more minutes remaining in this program to be used to talk about the caller. The caller expressed himself. Let's move on. Caller, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Later.
Yes, good evening.
I'm calling to respond to the discussion, not the caller.
All right. Thank you.
What you are doing for a number of years is educating the people on the rights of the civil servants, the PSU, the people's rights to protest, the rights to get the earning, the rights to have the right to the job and whatever. This is what you come on the program for.
Right.
And we needing information to guide us. We call you as the head of the civil service to guide us along the line. And since I could call you to only find out this question, I see nothing you do that is wrong. I don't want to go further with it, but keep doing what you're doing. In the end, God will judge who is right and who is wrong.
Thank you.
All right.
Overseas line, good evening to you. Thanks for calling.
Good evening, my brother Later.
Good evening, and how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm Brother Steve.
Yes, good evening.
I like how you start the program, Brother Steve.
all right, good.
With that article you penned, you said in 2019?
2019, correct.
Yeah, because I think with all this talk, Brother Later, the most serious problem we have in Dominica, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is bad governance.
That's right.
Because to govern people, you are servant of the people, you working for the people not working for you. For example, there was a meeting in Parliament when one of the opposition members asked the foreign minister at the time, who are our ambassadors? Brother Letter, I was surprised to hear the reply.
I remember that.
Brother Letter and my partner from St. Joe, and Sean, big up to you, my brother. But even if we are not in Dominica, Brother Letter, it's affecting us just like we in Dominica. Because, for example, if you lose your passport or you have a problem with your birth certificate or you get in problem with the law, you don't know presenting you just don't know. You understand? And that business of secrecy like Dominica is running as an estate. That is why I firmly believe, Brother Later, we have to go back and ask ourselves, when we vote in somebody, what do we expect? You know, you running, you want to be a servant, you want me to vote for you. What must I expect? How are you going to better my life? Are you going to uphold the laws and the Constitution? Are you going to treat everybody equal, regardless of the religion or the ideology or the sex, whether you are male or female? These are the simple questions I think we have to go back to, Brother Later, because everybody, we are trying to find out what we can do. But that's why I tell Brother Steve, I said I like how you start, because that article just reminds me of our natural way of life, which is a democratic country we're trying to achieve and trying to build, where everybody are respected, irrespective of which party you support. That party business coming after, but our country is supposed to come first.
Yeah.
You understand, Brother Later?
Yeah,
absolutely.
When you have properties like the public works, I know if government want to build something that is in the interest of the people, they have laws where they can acquire that property and pay you according to the market value. But I don't know nowhere in the law that the government can take the people's property and make deal with it to private person and nobody knows about it, Brother Later. You understand?
That's right.
The business of our different institutions, as Brother Steve said, they're supposed to be independent. You are not serving a Labour Party or a Freedom Party or even the UWP. You're serving the country. You understand? So you have to put your prejudices aside, even have my strong political persuasion.
Everybody does.
But when you're dealing with the people, you are not working for a political party, Brother Later. And that is why I say again, we have to ask ourselves, when we're voting for somebody or when somebody put themselves up for public servant, what do you expect? A handout? A 200? Yeah. Why are you voting for somebody for?
Okay, we need to round up.
We're going to wrap up, caller, so thanks again.
Yeah, but Brother Later, all I'm saying, it's time we ourselves, I think the people themselves have lost their way. We need to go back to the foundation.
Okay. We need
to try to build a fair society for everybody, where everybody are respected and deal equally and treated equally. Nobody's above the law, Brother Later.
Thank you.
Yes,
that's very, very good point.
Very, very, very
Yeah, but that's the way we have to go. I think Dominica is at the crossroads,
yeah,
where We need people to help to save the country.
Yeah.
I don't want my grandchildren to be raised in a country where they haven't got their rights, where they are fearful for their rights. I do not want them to be raised in a country where they see all the productive part, all the good lands are being owned by foreign people. I don't want to see that, because, Brother Steve, that was what...
This is no joking.
That was what people fought for before.
Yeah. This is no
joke. Throughout the Caribbean.
Okay.
And we are seeing a return of colonialism.
Yeah.
What we call neo-colonialism back in Dominica.
Yeah.
And we are losing our rights.
Serious implications.
Serious implication for our people.
For generations, if we're not careful. Yeah.
And even our own people, they are not aware, or they do not digest what is happening. We will be made second-class citizens in our country if we do not take an action now to stop some of the things that are happening. And I don't care who attack me. I'm expecting tomorrow some people will attack me. I am accustomed to that.
Yeah.
But Steve, there is nothing people can say about me that will get me scared. And they can insult. I will not stoop down to their level to answer them. But Brother Steve, I believe it is time for reflection. What are the things that can help this country move forward that are not happening?
Then it's more action.
Exactly.
More talk, because I think we need a young generation that will also take some of the issues we are raising seriously. You have university grads who are coming back with degrees, and they cannot fit themselves into an area where they can apply what they have studied and gain a decent income, a decent salary, feel empowered to own a piece of Dominica. And as you say, strangers will come from overseas and own the best property, while our local professionals, our local people will feel disenfranchised. We have to have a path forward where we create hope for young people. We create hope for the next generation, that they can say, I want Dominica to be my home because I can enjoy my social and economic and environmental goals of having a place that I can enjoy and call home. So I think the topic we raised this evening, the pursuits of defending the rights of our people and ensuring that they gain social justice, is critical. And this is not just a call that the union should issue. I think we need to join hands. I see somebody mentioned NJAM. But public, the people who have that consciousness, some of the callers who are calling have to wake up and say, listen, what kind of Dominica are we trying to shape? What kind of people are we trying to really cultivate? And it's not just for us, it's for us to leave a place for generations and generations to come that we are proud of.
Yes, Brother Steve. So I think it was a very interesting topic, and we didn't have time to play much music, but that's not the problem.
That's okay.
I think the discussions were all right.
Yeah.
That is what we were concentrating on. So I want to thank all those who called, and we want to encourage you to continue to call. Those who have not been calling, we want to say to you that you should start calling the program. You have a lot to offer.
Or go on Facebook and make
a
comment.
On Facebook, we are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. So you can make your point.
Yep.
And let me just thank you all very, very, very much. And till next time, I see I'm having a little difficulty in assessing the ad, but I think I might just have to play something here for Steve.
Yeah.